investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. Donovan, you know I'll be having trouble with all these buttons and stuff. You know, Donovan, you could just come up in here, right? You could come up on the live stream. You got the what you
Yeah, I
call
know.
it?
I got the passwords.
All right.
I'm G14 classified.
G14 classified. Full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area, former mortgage broker, spent the better part of 20 years in the multifamily commercial industry. I'm licensed in insurance. No, I'm not in the insurance business. I'm a long-term hold investor. I invest all over the country. I'm the founder of a real estate investing training platform called the 4 Data Points Academy, where we take people from zero knowledge and we take them all the way to the promised land as long as it takes. We got an event coming up in Houston this weekend. We are doing a real estate investing workshop. So if you guys are in Houston, make sure you visit our website, 4datapoints.com, go to upcoming events, and you will see a way to get there. We're doing a meet and greet at the Hyatt Regency in Galleria at 6 p.m. Friday to 9. And then we're doing the workshop Saturday from 9 a.m.-ish to 4. And then we are, for those folks, with the invites, they will, I'm inviting them up to my suite and we're going to, have some food and drinks, kind of decompress. And we may walk a project on Sunday. It depends. Tavares in the building. Tavares, can you monitor the chat just for questions, only because I'm not able to do so. Credit Goddess in the building. We got Jamisha in the building. TaylorMade Jeffrey, Donovan, Entrepreneur, 4 Data Points Academy folks are joining us slowly but surely. You can tell when I'm multitasking. I got to stop. I can't even chew gum. And all right. How's everybody doing on stage? Anybody got anything they want to add before we jump into this power hour? Oh, somebody tagged that.
Yeah, can we bribe you to change the start time back to 7 a.m. Pacific? I don't care what I have to do, man. I'm knee deep in my desk at this time, but I'll try to do my best to join.
Hey, it's all good, man. Somebody bring Don up here too. I saw Don down there. Yeah, man. I had to adjust it to make to fit into my day. So 7 a.m., I got sometimes I have my son, sometimes I got to take my daughter to school, and 9 a.m. seems to be the easiest time to do it, but the replays are on. And Jeffrey, you get all this anyway. You part of the family, so you get this 4 nights a week if you want to. But
yeah, I know, man. I'm just trying to mess with you. I will try to bribe you though. So
hey man.
I mean, 8 o'clock would be acceptable. I just know we got folks on the East Coast where, maybe it doesn't work for them either. So I'm just trying to be respectful.
It's all good, man. You know what? You guys remember when I was doing this at 5 a.m., getting up at, 4 a.m. to get all this set up. And it was too much because certain days, I'm teaching class in the evenings. So I would get up at 5 a.m., do my day. I'm mentoring 350 people. So everybody that has any issues, I'm resolving it. And then I got to do marketing, and then I got to do, work on my own projects. And then I'll be wiped out at about 3:30. And then I got to teach a class at 5 that sometimes goes to 7:30. And so it was just too much. So I'm trying to shut everything down by 6 p.m. every day so I can spend time with family, which is actually, that's a roll into what I want to talk about today, because I just got the feeling that, real estate investing and everybody's trying to sell you something. And I get it. People that are teaching people things should be paid for their time. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm one of them, right? I do incorporate all the free stuff like what we're doing now. And I always create a space so I can answer any questions for people that aren't in a financial position to get real mentorship. I've been doing that for 4 years. You guys know, our in-person groups, we max at about 30, maybe 35 sometimes. The reason we don't, I was explaining to somebody earlier, the reason we don't, just have 300 people, it's because you can't service 300 people and actually get them the knowledge. We do workshop style stuff at our workshops. So I make sure that people actually understand it before they leave. And I can't do that with 300 people. We do virtual workshops. I haven't done one in a while, but I will be doing a few coming up this year. It makes more sense. And we don't have the bandwidth to hit as many cities as we used to. We were hitting about 15 cities a year at one point. I know I was. So we're trying to smooth things out, make it more efficient. We got group projects. So a lot of people in our real estate family that I put together, they're doing projects. So I'm servicing those projects and all of the things. But I have an announcement. We broke the internet this morning. We have reached, pregnant pause, 115 followers. I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking it's going to go to his head. It's going to go to his head. I don't know how he's going to manage the fame, but I am managing it, and I will do my best to stay humble. Yeah, that is 115. If anybody wants, I'll pause. You guys are probably clapping. I'll
What
pause.
platform is that?
That is TikTok. That is TikTok. 115.
Shout out. Shout
Yes.
out.
Yes. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Any minute there. Is there be some reporters outside? I don't know. Yeah, any minute, I'm about to be blown up all over the world. So 115, folks. What'd you say, Tribisha?
I said they behind the tree.
Yes. So hey, this is what it is. I'm a star, folks. I am a star. But I will remember you when I get to the mountaintop or accept any awards. And I just appreciate the support. That being said, so yes, I was mentioning we're going to do things a little different today because I've always wanted to expand the 4 Data Points Academy into other things that contribute to your overall success. And we know that success isn't just about finances, right? I know people with plenty of finances, good finances. I know rich people in my circle that are, some of them are miserable. So as I was saying, when you go online and you look at real estate investing, it's like a whole world out there, and they make it seem like that can change your life. And it can, I guess, in certain aspects, but it's at the end of the day, it's just a job, right? It's just a job. And I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm a real estate investor, and I'm an educator. That stuff is just a job. It's really not. It doesn't carry as much meaning as people would like to convince you that it does, right? All we do is arrange paperwork in our favor, right? We're very strategic about it, and we make a profit. And I just have a knack for being able to simplify it so the average person can do it, and I can, do it at a cost that's reasonable to the average person. But there's just more important things, right? And there's 4 things that I want to place additional focus on, and I'm in partnership with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Alfred Smith, who is he's got me through some pretty dark time, whether he knows it or not. He's got me through some pretty tough times. So we're partnering, and we're creating a program that focuses on 4 things. One of those things is this is a really big one. One of those things is getting people to break free from self-limiting beliefs. And when I talk to people that are thinking about getting into real estate investing, that's just one choice that they're making, right? But limiting beliefs impacts everything we do. It impacts our relationships. It impacts our confidence. It impacts our job. It impacts almost everything, right? It's what do we see when we look in the mirror, and are we good enough when we look in the mirror? I think that's a big one. So breaking free from self-limiting beliefs, improving confidence in communication. I can speak for real estate investors. The ability to communicate is far more valuable than any asset that I would invest in. It allows me to, inspire some people. It allows me to negotiate. It allows me all of these things, right? And the confidence, I'm very fortunate because I got a lot of my confidence from my dad. He still does, but when I was little, he used to brag on me in front of me and brag on me behind my back. And every time he got an opportunity, he would be bragging about me to some folks that he was talking to, whether it was clients or whoever. And I mean, it got to the point where I was like a C- student, but you'd have thought I was valedictorian at my school the way I had confidence, right? So, improving confidence in communication is the second thing that we are going to place focus on. And this program is going to be led by Dr. Smith. And the third thing is developing high performance habits. I think that is important also, right? Because it's our habits that determine our ability to produce. And if we don't have good habits, then the outcome is going to be reflective of that. So that's the third thing developing high performance habits. And the fourth thing, which kind of encompasses it all, is increasing income by changing our mindset. And by mindset, I mean, it starts with our self-portrait, right? And I don't care how successful you are, people deal with imposter syndrome. People deal with all types of things that cause them to limit themselves, right? So those are the four things that we're implementing into our program. We've been working on this for some time. Next week, I'm going to have him on, and we're going to talk about some of the aspects of what we're going to be teaching. And again, he's taking the lead on this, and he's retired, but you wouldn't know it. He has 35 years experience in ministry, and he rarely brings that up because when you're talking to him, he's just like a regular dude, right? Just a real dude. And and when I hit a ceiling, he gives me all the credit. He gives me all the credit, but he was working with me when I hit a ceiling, and I was like, okay, well, I feel like I've plateaued. Something's going on. Something's not working. And we talk for 30, 45 minutes. We actually talk all the time. In part because he's married to my sister for 20 years or over 20 years. I think it's going on 22, 23 years. So he's my brother-in-law also. And when I met him, so my sister was, me and my sister are really, really close. And her first husband passed away, cancer. And I was there through that. And so my nephews, and I'm making sure that they're all okay. And that was a tough time. So for my sister didn't marry, she didn't do anything for a couple years. And when she met Alfred, Dr. Smith, I remember the first time she brought him by the house of my parents' house. And I was down there and I was going to meet him too. And when I tell you, in my mind, it didn't matter if she brought Denzel Washington, Abraham, Jesus. It didn't matter who she brought through this house. I was not going to like this person. Like, this person had to be, I don't care if she showed up with Barack Obama. I was not going to like this person. And this brother just had such a peaceful spirit. And come to find out, he was married for a long time, and his wife passed away from cancer too, I believe. So they connected, and then I was very I was very, what do you call it? I was reserving judgment, and he was just a really, really good dude, and I got to know him. We got really close, and over the years, he had a huge impact on my life. All right, he doesn't know that, so don't tell him. He had a huge impact on my life, and I want him to. And I'm you can't. I was in ministry too, right? And I can tell. One thing that I've always been able to do is get a good read on people and see who's authentic and see who has an agenda. And this brother, I've always told him, I was like, and he's wrote a couple books. He's published. He's got a couple books. And I said, you need to, and he's done public speaking, and he's done some personal development stuff for people. And so he's been in that world. But I said, you need to bring that. You need to do for everybody else what you did for me. You need to bring that to the rest of the world, right? And so now I have the opportunity to help him do that. So you guys will meet him, and you guys are really going to be blessed from this brother. But I do want to talk about all of the things that impact how we move forward in business. First of all, let me say hello. Credit Goddess, how you doing, sis? All right. She ain't never just waiting by the phone. She's talking to clients. Desmond, what's going on, brother?
I'm good. Good evening.
Amen.
Everybody.
Amen. I'm glad we had this talk, brother. Just kidding. All right. So we're going to break it down into 4 weeks. That's the gist of the program. It's going to be 4 weeks, and it can go longer for people that choose to go further than that. So some of the lessons that we are going to be talking about are how your internal beliefs shape your external reality. And by the way, folks, all of this stuff, we talk about real estate investing, just the mechanics of real estate investing that's the start of it. All right. If you don't manage, if your life isn't managed, it doesn't matter what you do. you're not going to be successful. And if you're successful by the world standards, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be fulfilled. I know money is like necessary, right? It's a necessary thing, but it doesn't bring you fulfillment unless you're somebody like me who only gets fulfilled giving it away. So we're going to talk about how your internal beliefs shape your external reality. We're going to be, and this is now we're getting into his world, right? Applying psycho-cybernetics for self-image transformation. That is such a big issue for people. How do you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror? And I know for men, it gets tough because we okay, ladies, you're going to have to help me with this one. We're not always the best behaved. I'll say that, right? Especially when we're younger and single, and men, we evolve into different men, over the years, right? I'm not the same man I was 5 years ago, and that man wasn't the same man he was 10 years before that. So overcoming past failures and self-doubt, it's easy to forgive other people. All right. It's like, I'm so honorable, right? Look at me. I'm a martyr. I'm forgiving the rest of the world. It gets hard to forgive yourself. So we're going to be talking about that's going to be incorporated into the program. We're going to be talking about, just like I mentioned, past failures, self-doubt, all of those things. We're going to get into rewiring your subconscious for success. That is, again, I say we, but that's him. He is taking the lead on all of this stuff, and I'll probably be participating in these classes too. And then aligning your identity with purpose. All right, so that's week 1. So we're going to have, there's going to be exercises and activities, and I'm telling you, I'm not just this. This is not a money grab. What he is going to do for people, he has 100% full support from me. It's going to be dope. Anybody have any questions before I continue? I'm just going to go over the outline of what we're going to be going through. And then, when you guys see it later, you'll already be familiar with it. He'll be on next week, Tuesday. So you can ask all those questions. Yes, no, maybe so. All right. Week 2. Week 2, we get into mastering influence and communication. So the science of connection, persuasion, and relationship mastery. So what we're going to be learning in week 2 is using NLP and neuroscience to boost confidence. That's his world, right? Ethical persuasion using Cialdini's influence principles. You guys are familiar with Cialdini. You've heard James mention him a lot. Understanding personality types for better communication. That is a big one, especially if you're going to be out there negotiating for anything, right? And it's not just business, it's personal relationships too. And then mastering nonverbal communication and building rapport. That is something that we have to master when we're talking to potential sellers in the real estate space. All right. That has a direct impact on your ability to close when you're talking to people that are in tough situations, right? People getting foreclosed on, people losing their houses to, delinquent taxes and all those other things, right? So that's week 2. And again, there's going to be a DISC personality assessment. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but I did it. There's going to be anchoring exercises for confidence. There's going to be role playing and influence scenarios, all of that stuff. That's going to be week 2. Right? Then week 3. Now, again, we're talking about 4 weeks, right? This is the core is going to be 4 weeks. Then week 3, we're going to talk about mastering influence. Nope, we already did mastering influence and communication. We're going to be talking about designing your future and sustaining your transformation. So with week 3 and week 4, I'm not going to take a deep dive into that because I want that to be, I want him to go over those things. But I tell you, man, look, most of you guys know the story. I lost absolutely everything in real estate, everything. And this was a major issue. And this is a large reason of why I teach the way that I teach today. So you guys that don't know the story, I'll tell you what it is. And it's an example of how my personal life was not where it needed to be. And it impacted, it started impacting everything else. Fortunately for me, I was able to put a nice enough mask on to where my professional life was on point to the outside world. So I would everywhere I'd go, it's like, man, you're always looking sharp. You always got money. You got houses. You always got a nice car. You always got a nice little something on the side on your arm there. And so that was the identity that I had created for the outside world. But internally, it was just things were really, really bad. So I'll just start from I'll start and then I'll start to finish since we got some time. So one day I was just in a really dark place, right? I was young, too young to be married, had kids and just, still trying to find myself. And one day I came home, got in a huge argument with my wife, took the phone out in the backyard. Remember the cordless phones? They still have those. Of course they do. I took the base of the phone, shot the phone. She left with the kids. Cops came. I got arrested. I bailed out because I had some money. So they should have locked me up. In my opinion, they should have locked me up. This is one of those situations where the justice, though faulty, really was faulty in my favor. So I bailed out, and I ended up getting put on probation, which I didn't mind because I don't really get into trouble. So probation wasn't a huge thing for me. I didn't know how probation worked. Probation, all they got to prove is that you violated your probation. You don't have to commit another crime for them to lock you up, right? So this is 2.5 years later. We get in another huge argument. We don't live together anymore. We've been separated the whole time. And I'm starting to build up my real estate portfolio, and I'm kind of out there killing it, right? And but then I started getting stressed out. My ex-wife, she was seeing somebody else who in retrospect was a really cool dude. Like, I really wish they I messed that up for her, but I really wish they would have something that, I wish she would have pursued that. Cool dude. And I know he's a cool dude because I wanted to fight him, and it was a situation where the guy was so likable that I couldn't get angry enough at him to do something, right? But he was a cool dude. And I was just super stressed out because it's not that I wanted to be with my wife. That wasn't it. As a matter of fact, Gloria, my 10-year-old's mother, my wife already had met her, and she was like, oh, she's great and all this other stuff. So it had nothing to do with me wanting to get back with my ex-wife. It was just, she was threatening the identity that I had created because I can't have somebody, and I'm trying to recall the thought process, but it's like, I was a different person back then, so it's kind of difficult. I said, I can't have somebody leave me, and how would that look, right? So my identity was threatened. And then around this time, the real estate market was tanking. I was super stressed. I think that month I'd only made like $900, right? And my expenses were like 15,000 a month. And it was just one thing after another. So my dad was like, he saw how stressed I was. So I said, well, what do you take when you get, because my dad has PTSD. So, I was taking some of his PTSD medication, which was I don't know how he was functioning, because when I took it, it was almost enough to kill a horse. So I'm sitting out there like a mummy. I was like, yeah, it's too much. Let me go to the doctor and get something else. So I go to the doctor, and the doctor says, all right, that's way too much. I'm going to give you this, which is like a fifth of what you were taking. And the doctor said something that I didn't remember until after I went through all this. And when I recall it, he should have really emphasized that, right? So he says, you're going to feel like when you take this, you're going to feel like you're normal and you don't need to take it anymore. Don't just stop cold turkey. I'll wean you off of it. Because if you stop cold turkey, you'll go into a spiraling depression. So me, I was like, I ain't never been depressed. So what is it? What am I? I'm going to be sad? That's it? Well, should I? I'm not going to take time out of I'm losing everything financially. I'm not going to take time out of my schedule to come back to the doctor to wean off of it. So, I forget what he said. So, probably about a week later, I'm like, oh, I'm cool. I'm tripping. I didn't need to take this in the first place. So I just stopped taking it. Right. And then, so that day it was normal. The next day, and this is why I don't mess with any prescribed drugs that mess with your head. Right. The next day, the level of depression, it wasn't even like a constant depression. Let's say you're depressed on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's say a 1 is least depressed, a 10, you're suicide. The following day in the morning, I was at about a 3, right? By lunchtime, I was about a 4. Okay. By about 4:30, I was about a 6. And then at about 5, it was about a 7. And then it was about an 8. And then by probably about 6:30 at night, I called my dad and I said, look, I'm not going to make it. So he came over, right? And I was so depressed. That's all. And I was crying uncontrollably, and I was like, and I had no idea what I was so depressed about. I thought it was because it was my ex-wife, because that was the only thing that was. So I thought I was sad about that. By when it got to about a 9, my dad came over, and we drove around a little bit. It got back down to about a 7, and then he left. It got up to about a 9, and I was determined. I said, I'm going to blow my brains out, because what happens when it gets to 10, and then what happens after that? Because it wasn't just being depressed. It was the velocity, how much quicker I was getting more depressed. That was a scary thing. I thought it was going to kill me, right? So I just figured, okay, well, if I'm gonna die anyway, I'd rather take control of it than have this thing kill me, because I don't know what this thing is. And I was fully sober. So I said, just so I don't change my mind, I'm gonna go down to the liquor store, and I'm gonna get a bottle of, dark liquor, and I'll just finish that. And then I'll go to my parents' the park. There was a park across the street from my parents. I said, I'm just gonna go blow my brains out in that park. So my friend comes over, Tara Dishman, who's a very influential person in my life. You guys never hear from her, but very influential person in my life. She comes over and she steals my keys, which I did not know, right? But I figured she had them. And she was very, very concerned. She had never seen me in that condition. So she took my keys, and I told her, give me the keys back. And she said, you will have to kill me to get these keys. So I picked up the couch, and I picked up the couch, like the sofa. I picked it up and threw it across the room, which in retrospect, I didn't realize where I got that strength from. But she said, you can do whatever you want. I'm not giving you these keys. So finally I was like, forget it then. You got to leave then. So she left with my keys, and I had a moment of clarity for maybe about 15 minutes. I had a moment of clarity. So where I could rationalize, I said, you know what? I need to call the cops to lock myself up. So I call the cops, and the dispatcher, she goes, well, what's the issue? I said, I need to be locked up. I need you to send somebody to come lock me up. She says, well, what's the issue? She starts probing and asking questions. And I told her, I said, look, you don't want to be the one that had the chance, because I'm not going to, I'm not going to put anything on record, right? I said, you don't want to be the one that had the chance to lock me up and didn't. She said, I'll send somebody over. Now I'm still in my suit from work, right? So when the cops come, they knock on the door, I come out. I'm clearly not what they expected, right? Sharp dude, very, just real put together, articulate. And they were like, are you sure I don't, I don't know. Are you sure? Are you sure you want us to take you? I said, yeah, go ahead and take me. They're all right. We'll take you somewhere. So they took me to the hospital, right? It was a psychiatric hospital, not the hospital itself. Well, yeah, because it's part of the regular hospital, but then normally they'll send you somewhere else. So I get in there, and there's this big blue square. Well, first of all, I said, y'all ain't gonna walk me in here, because I don't want them to just think I'm just happen to stroll by when I'm up in here. Then, and the cop goes, no, you got to go. Just press that speaker. Tell me you want to talk to somebody, because if we take you in there, it's going to be something different. I was like, point taken. So I go in there. They said, all right, have a seat right here. There's this big blue square, right? Big blue square. And there's this young lady sitting in there. So I go sit next to this young lady. And the lady looks at me and she goes, hey, just so you know, and I know some of you guys have heard this before. The lady looks at me and she goes, hey, just so you know, Derek's going to come pick me up. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know Derek, but okay. She felt, she should share that. So I'm like, all right. So 2 minutes later, she goes, hey, Derek's on his way to pick me up. I'm like, okay, all right. That's he should hopefully get here soon. Sounds like he's late. 2 minutes later, she goes, hey, Derek's coming to pick me up. When I tell you that for the next 45 minutes, every 2 minutes, this woman told me Derek was coming to pick her up. I don't know who Derek was, but Derek was not coming to pick her up. So I look at the security guard. I walk over to the security guard, because now I think I'm in the wrong room, right? So I go over to the security guard, and everybody starts fidgeting, right? Because I walked out of the blue square, and that sets off like alarms with everybody, right? And it was his brother that was security guard. He was like, yeah, man, you can't, you got to sit back in the square. He was a cool dude, right? Because he clearly was like, yeah, I think you stepped into something you ain't supposed to be in. So they gave me something to sleep. I slept for a little bit. I woke up. My dad found out I was there. I don't know whether they had him on and I had that good insurance at the time, so they were going to send me to one of those really nice places out and that you see the commercials for, all out in the forest. And my dad was like, no, I'm coming to get him. So my dad comes up there, picks me up, and I don't remember where I went after that. I may have went to my dad's house. I may have went back home or whatever it was. But Alfred is the one that I called the next day. And it was the next day was a Sunday. So I drove up to where Alfred and my sister were, and it was just, and we had a long talk. And it was it really helped me. It helped bring me back. So 2 days later, remember, I'm on probation. So I go to the probation department, and Tara, my friend at the time, she's still my friend, but she took me there. And I didn't like probation because it made me feel like a criminal, and I'm in there with real criminals, and I'm like, look, man. So I didn't like it anyway, right? So my probation officer comes out, which is a real cool dude, man, real good dude. And he goes, well, we're not going to meet in that room today. We're going to meet in this other room. And I mentioned before, I can tell when people's energy is off, right? I can tell my situational awareness is off the chain, right? So I can tell when the energy shifts. So I said, hey, Tara, look, I'm gonna give you my keys and my wallet and all that stuff. So she took it. I go back in this other room, and there's 6. I don't know if these guys were SWATs from SWAT team, but they were dressed like Navy SEALs, right? And so I was like, I got duped. But then on the other hand, I was like, oh, I'm impressed. You guys thought it would take 6 of y'all. I have been working out. So they take me to jail, right? Now, this is a violation of probation. So I didn't commit another crime. What happens when you violate probation and they can prove you violated it, they give you a slap on the wrist the first time, they bring all your old charges back up, and they punish you based on your old charges. I had no idea. So I didn't have a lawyer this time because there's no due process, right? So I go in there, and they take me to the county jail, which was Santa Clara County. So it wasn't hard. It was actually very relaxing. And so I'm in there 7 days, and I'm freaking livid, right? Like, I am the Karen of jail at this point. So I'm like, y'all ain't got no hair products. Y'all ain't got no, I'm really not comfortable. Right. So I go to my hearing, and I'm sitting there talking. I see my mom there. My younger sister's there. My youngest sister, she's older than me, but my youngest sister at the time. And they're all this legal jargon and all. Normally my attorney would handle all that, but all this legal jargon. I'm sitting there with this dang public defender, and I remember standing up, and they're like, you're gonna 1 year, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna extend my probation a year, and I go, so I'm looking at, so my probation officer still trying to tell me to be quiet because I'm asking him questions while the judge is talking. But I'm saying, hey, what's going on with the year? He said, you're gonna have to sit down. So I sit down, and he goes, no, stand back up. I said, you just told me to sit down. He's like, no, you're gonna have to sit down where you're at in jail. I was like, what do you mean, for how long? Because I'm thinking I'm getting out the following Tuesday, right? I'm gonna buy my way out of this. Even though I had the real estate market take, so I ran out of money anyway. But I had people that would have paid whatever I need. And he goes, no, you're gonna sit down in jail for a year. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever being in jail for a year. Maybe if you're a criminal, and it's county jail. It's not prison. It's county jail. So a year equates to 8 months. When he told me a year, I said, wait a minute. Wait, are you talking about a calendar year or because all I can remember is when Christmas, remember when you woke up and opened your toys for Christmas, and then the next day, and if you didn't get what you want, they were like, well, maybe next Christmas. That whole year, you remember how long that wait seemed? So now I'm just devastated, right? But my mom is there, so I'm like, take it on the chin, right? I was like, a year. So I go back to this is June 29th, 2007 now. All right. I go back to my jail, and I'm just freaking devastated, right? And I'm calling Tara and running her phone bill up because it's expensive calling from jail. And I just had to, to deal with it at that point, right? So I go to sleep that night. Now this is where, now remember I said June 29th is when this happened. Okay. This is when I got back from court. The Otis on June, that was on June 28th, was not the same Otis on June 30th. So this is what happened that night. So I go to sleep, and what feels like a very real dream, which, I understood, Holy Spirit, God's Holy Spirit came. And the first thing he said, because I was mad at everybody, probation officer, ex-wife, I was mad at everybody because I didn't feel like I deserved to be there. Right. And which I did deserve to be there, but I didn't feel like it because, I have emotional immaturity. You're always right. Everybody else is wrong. Right. So he comes and he goes, the first thing he said was, I'm going to, don't be upset at your ex-wife. Don't be upset at the probation officer. Don't be upset at the judge or anybody else involved. If you're going to be upset, you can be upset at me because I take full responsibility. I intentionally placed you here. I put you here. So I was like, well, okay. And he goes, I was trying to speak to you out there, but you couldn't hear me because we were, we used to party, we were having all types of, we were doing all types of stuff, right? It's recreational drugs, drinking, working long hours, spending we were almost living like drug dealers, right? Like, but not, we just didn't deal drugs. We were just very single dudes, right? Just living life. And he said, I was trying to talk to you, but you couldn't hear me out there. There was too much noise. So I brought you here. So I said, okay. And that actually calmed me down a bit. So that night he said, I want to show you who you are. And I said, I know who I am. Like, I don't understand what that is, like what that means. So he took me back to all of these different situations where maybe I made a smart remark that hurt somebody's feelings, my wife's feelings, or maybe I did something that was inconsiderate. And there was a pattern of that, right? A pattern of just this dude that I had no idea who I was, who I didn't think I was that guy. So, and he could have went all night. And but it got so painful, and I hope you guys never have to go through this, because the reason I changed wasn't because anybody outside told me I should, and it wasn't because I felt that I should. The reason I changed was because I saw through his eyes who I actually was for real without the filter, and it destroyed me. So so I woke up the next morning. We went through that, and then it was over. I woke up the next morning, and I was still hurt from what I saw. Like, I'm the one that asked him to stop because it was just too painful. I couldn't bear it. So that day I just went about, I was like, man, it's a crazy dream. Right. So that day I just kind of went about my business and, maybe did some reading or whatever. I was cracking jokes with, I was like the oldest one in there. I was like 30. I was the oldest one. So the next day I go back to sleep, and he comes back to make sure that I didn't think it was just a dream. And he goes, I want you to do three things. The first thing he said, which blew my mind, I had no idea what he was talking about in this case or why he would say this. The first thing he said was, I need you to improve your financial literacy, which didn't make sense to me because I was already financially literate. But what he was saying in retrospect was, you are going where I'm taking you, you're going to need a whole new level of financial literacy. So I said, okay. And then he goes, the next thing is, I want you to go tell people about who I am. And that was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard, because I said, you just showed me yesterday who I was. Like, these people out there are not going to listen to me about who you are. I'm not going to walk out of here and people are not going to take me seriously. All these people I was cutting up with out here, I said, you clearly have the wrong person. Like, I can refer you to some people at the church. I always say, I can refer you to those guys that wear bow ties and glasses. That's who you want. And he stopped me. He said, the people that I'm trying to reach won't listen to them, but they'll listen to you. So I was like, oh, okay. All right. And then the third thing I'm going to keep to myself. that's a little personal, right? Some of you guys know because I told you before. So I wake up the next day, right? And I'm like, I am never going to sleep again because every time I go to sleep, I got to deal with the ghost of Christmas past. I was like, I'm not doing it. So I wake up, I'm sitting on my rack. The guy kitty corner to me, 18-year-old kid, right? Real promising dude. I remember this dude, real athletic. He was in there because he like sprinted out of Target or Walmart with a PS5 or PS2 or whatever it was at the time. And he was just squandered his life away. So he's reading this Bible, right? Now I grew up in the church. Oh, I always make that mistake. I grew up at the church, not in the church. There's a difference, right? I was, my parents, they always had me go. So I was familiar with scripture, just like the devil's familiar with scripture, right? Just because you're familiar with scripture doesn't mean you holy or practicing it or allowing it to change your life or impact your life. So he's reading it and he's like, man, I don't understand all this. Thou art this and that, right? So I'm like, all right, well, here, give it to me. I can break it down. I'll tell you what it means and at least the practical application of what it means. I looked at that book and the words lit up in gold. Like it was just, they lit up like back in the movies where words that light up in like gold. This paragraph lit up and I read it and I just had so much information to give him about the practical application of that. Like you ever have some really good news, you can't get it out fast enough. Like it was like that. Right. And I never experienced that before. Like all the words just came and some people were listening and then so they had questions. And then, the next day, more people had questions. So, 4 or 5 months into this 8-month vacation, the crowds got so big that the police had to come because they thought it was going to be a riot. And I was just talking about things and I just had the words and I feel like I never had enough time to get out all the words. Right. So, so that goes on for a while and then I get out. So 8 months, it's not really a long time, but if you're in there, you get used to it. And I had a little job in there and I was actually the most relaxing 8 months I ever had. I'm not going to say I miss it, but shout out to the people down at Santa Clara County, county jail, right? The officers and everybody, they were all really, really, really cool people. And so I get out and I go, and I'm like, I've been locked up for 8 months. So my first inclination, I was like, I'm going right back to my old, I may not go all the way back to my old ways, but I know what I'm going to do first. Right, fellas? Let me pause there. Let me take a sip. So I'm out 3 weeks. My dad comes to me out of the blue. He goes, hey, we work together, so we talking all the time. And I went to go stay at their house, right? Because I lost everything, right? I lost houses, cars, everything. I had one car left. I had one car. It was in the garage, their garage. And then I ended up losing that. So he goes, I need to talk to you about something. He goes, the Holy Spirit told me to tell you that you made God 3 promises and he expects you to honor them. Now, mind you, I never told anybody about that. Like I didn't tell anybody about what happened in there probably until after I got out sometime. Right. So he was and my dad's really in tune with that. Right. He's highly respected and highly regarded in that space. So I thought, oh, that was real. Because, you start making excuses like, oh, I was probably just stressed. The cliche, you go to jail and find Jesus. It's probably just all that, right? But no, it was real. So the next day, I dropped everything. And for the next 3 years, I had, we call them Bible discussions at my office. And I had a couple rules, right? Because I could speak well. Actually, I spoke average, right? And I had a couple of rules, right? I'm never getting behind no pulpit and I'm not working with those folks in the church that are just there to be in the church, right? I'm going to go after the people that nobody wants. So this is the first time I spoke in public. And by the way, I did that for 3 years exclusively and funded it all myself. First time I spoke in public, I had been doing these Bible discussions for probably about 6 months. And I had already developed a reputation, for being able to break these principles down, kind of the same way I break down real estate, right? So I go to, somebody calls me from one of the churches and they say, hey, can you fill in for me at the, Salvation Army? So I go to the Salvation Army. I'm like, yeah. And I do these little groups and they're usually 15 to 20 people because it's in my office. So I'm doing the same thing at the Salvation Army. I go in there and I say, hey, I'm here filling in for so-and-so. And they have something going off in the distance over there. It's like this auditorium. There's like 200 or 300 people over there, maybe let's say 250 people over there. And the guy looks at me and he goes, yeah, right there. They're waiting for you. Now, mind you, I don't have anything prepared, right? Like I'm going to do this little discussion. I'm thinking I'm going to be off in a room. We can put about 10 chairs in a circle. I got my little handouts. So I have to go speak in front of all those people and I have zero. So I look at the guy and say, where's your bathroom? So I go to the bathroom and I go in there and say a quick prayer. And I remember this prayer and I'm like, look, Lord, I don't, if I go out there and look stupid, we both gonna look stupid. You know, you be trying to trick God, like he ain't never, because if I look stupid, we both look stupid and we don't want that. So I'm like, I need you to give me something, to words or something. And I don't feel anything, right? Like, I'm like, how do you invoke this, this thing that you do? So I'm in there and I can't be in there forever. So I go out the bathroom and I was like, I know how he does. He's very dramatic sometimes. I'll just walk up there and I'll get it on my way up there. So I walk out of the bathroom and I remember this dude walks by me and he looks at me and he goes, hey man, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. And that still is etched in my mind because I don't know what a black person looks like when they look like they've seen a ghost, right? So that just stuck in my mind. So I'm going out to this auditorium, I'm going up to the stage, and it's still no words are coming. And so I'm halfway there now, and I can't, like, I have to go. So I'm gonna have to get up there and say something. So I'm thinking, Lord, this is about the time. Like, this is the time right here. So I start walking slower, right? And I don't know what I look like on the outside, but I probably look stupid because now everybody's looking at me and now I'm going up there. And I think I've been stopped in the middle and just kind of pondered. And maybe they thought, oh man, he's really about to go deep because no, I was giving God an opportunity to work on his timing. So I get up to the stage, nothing. I get to the podium, nothing. I'm looking out at these folks and there was this one dude. He was in the aisle. He was about 10 rows back. I looked at him, he looked at me, and boom, I could feel everything that dude was feeling. And just one word came, right? Victory was the word that came. That was the only word. So I just said that word and I got flooded with the words, flooded with information. I could have been up there for 10 hours and I still wouldn't have had enough time. And I remember the message. The message at the time was about the next best thing. When things look bad and things look overwhelming, just focus on the next best thing, and that'll be your victory for the day. And, just like, people get so depressed they can't even get out of bed. All right, well, just sit up, put your feet on the floor. That's a victory. Be proud of that. We'll work on the rest tomorrow, right? So that was a message. And when I finished, everybody was coming up and they were like, man, that was life-changing. That was this, that was that. And from that moment on, I was more comfortable speaking in public than I had ever been. As a matter of fact, I had so much to say over the next couple of years that I never prepared at all, ever. I would just always walk up there on these stages and I would just wait for the words to come. So one day on a random night, I'm having a Bible discussion. Now, along this time, like, I'm a single dude, right? And I'm, trying to behave the best I can, but I'm a single dude. So I may date this person, maybe kind of date this person. And I'm kind of swaying, right? And and I don't want to be a hypocrite. So I go to this. We have this one normal routine Bible discussions, about 20 people there. And by this time, we had a nonprofit. I had an assistant, and we were like really building this thing out. We had plans. We were writing a movie script, and all of these things were coming into play. So I go to talk, and no words came, none. Now I was already good enough to be able to speak, right, and finish the whole thing. This is 2011. I started this in 2008. This is 2011. I go back to my office after it's over, and I'm sitting at the desk. And this was probably one of the most disappointing moments that I ever had in my life. I'm sitting at the desk, and my assistant comes in. And Tavares, you know who Lisa, Eric Martinez's sister, Lisa Martinez. She was my assistant. And when she started with me, she didn't even know how to pray. When she finished with me, she was leading prayer. This girl was a prayer warrior. She prayed better than me. And she saw me sitting there, and she kind of paused for a little bit, and I looked at her. I was like, yeah, it's over. It's done. It's over. And I never had another group discussion. Everything was shut down. I never touched it again because I thought, he wanted me to do this thing. I couldn't do it. I failed at it. So I was very disappointed and just went back into, just focusing on career. And I said, I'm never doing that again. But when you know, right? You can't unknow, right? So a lot of the way I teach, you guys see a lot of that ministry coming out, and it's reminiscent of those times. And that is all of those things that I went through to get to that point. In some way, shape, or form, what Dr. Smith, Alfred, or let's call him Alfred, is bringing, helped me get through those things, and I learned a lot of those things through that process. And that's the me you see here now is a result of all that. And the me before, very few people know, right? Tavares is one of them, and he's had his journey. Also, James is another one that was around because I've known these guys for well over 30 years, right? So that it was always in me to I need people, even not spiritually, right? Not faith-based. And let's be honest, a lot of the faith-based stuff is just a lot of everything we get comes from the Bible somewhere, right? All of the personal development is in the Bible, all of it. You're not going to find one piece of personal development that's not a legitimate piece that's not in the Bible somewhere. So this new program that we're expanding is a manifestation of all of those things that I experienced, along with the credentials and experience of Dr. Alfred Smith, to be able to package it in a way that's going to benefit all of you in your careers, in your personal life, and all these other things. So what time is it? So that's the story, right? That's the story of how I, came to be. And, one day I considered it a failure, but, one day, I may go back and, I have I learned a lot of things about the church during that time. I learned that everybody that wears the jersey ain't on the team. Right. And I think, there's a lot of good people, in the faith space, but there's a lot of people that just consider it a job too. And through that time, I've developed, I already had confidence, but through that time, my confidence was just through the roof, not in an arrogant way, but because I know everywhere that I went, God sent me there. So if God sent me there, there's no one greater than him in that room. Next to him, everybody looks really, really small. Right. Just like I'm small relative to him. Right. So every time I went somewhere, I went in a room, I went with my head up, and I went with the mentality that I don't need anybody in that room. I don't need any favors. I don't need anything. So when I teach people how to invest in real estate, I teach them and give them enough knowledge so they don't need anybody for anything. When things go bad, I teach them how to manage risk. When they run out of money, I teach them how to move forward without using money, right? I teach them all of these things because I've experienced that, and that's what I want for other people. So I know that I took up the whole time to go over that story, but it's a very important story. And if it wasn't for that story, and it wasn't for me going to jail, there would be no 4 Data Points Academy. If it wasn't for me shooting that telephone, there would be this, I wouldn't have this perspective. I wouldn't be a good father to my kids. I wouldn't be this person that you see so giving all of the time on, all of these. You guys have been rocking with me for some years. I wouldn't be that person. So I wanted to share that story to kind of, I didn't plan on live streaming it, but I wanted to share that story so you guys know my origin, and, and the way I move, and my decision-making process, all of the things that impact those things. So boom, that was it. That's how that's how I came to be. Well, this is a day we'll never get back. So, well, it is what it is. Right. What's up, Taylor May?
One day I sit back and say, if it wasn't for that testimony, I wouldn't be successful in real estate,
Yeah, man. It's
I love it. It's great.
And the people that we come across, it in this space, right? Not just the people I teach. All right. The people I teach is that's one thing, but I'm talking about the strangers, right? The people that are going through tough situations. And when the Holy Spirit moves you, it doesn't matter if none of us are deserving enough for it, right? And sometimes our self-portrait will kind of act as a barrier when God's trying to move us, because we're all sinners and we all know we all are sinners, right? It's basically what it is. So maybe we won't say something to that person, or maybe we won't say, hey man, God just put it on my heart to do X, Y, and Z, because there's that fear that the person you're talking to will say, God didn't put nothing on your heart. You was just at the club with me last night. You saw it. We was getting down. And the fact that he uses people that don't deserve it, I clearly didn't deserve it. As a matter of fact, I told him, I said, you have clearly got the wrong person for someone who's supposed to be all knowing, right? I didn't say that, but you clearly got the wrong person. Like, I'm the last person. They are going to, if they see me coming with a Bible, they're going to laugh they tail off. But he was telling the truth, because there were people out there that needed to be reached that respected a lot of the superficial stuff that I had put together. So I had their ear, and I was able to speak to them in a way that they could relate to, and let them know that all this stuff is just a facade. The important things are X, Y, and Z. And regardless of how bad your situation is, you are right where you're supposed to be. A lot of you have heard me talk about the seasoning process. All right. The seasoning process as a real estate investor are all the deals that go bad, all of the, when you lose money, all of the people you hire and stab you into the back, all the contractors that do shoddy work, all of these bad things that happen is a seasoning process to turn you into a seasoned investor. They'll try to make you believe, the world will try to make you believe that you're a seasoned investor because you accomplish a lot of good deals. That is not, there's no development in that, right? The seasoning process, not just in real estate investing, but in your life, are the bad things that happen. Because when you get to where you're supposed to be, if you haven't been seasoned, you will fold. I promise you, you will fold. I've been in some situations where if I hadn't been seasoned, I would have gave up, period. Any reasonable person would have gave up. I've also been in places, you guys know, I did some stuff in Africa, and I was in Gambia in the office of the Minister of Interior, which is like the equivalent of the Vice President of the United States. And when I was in that room, I felt like I owned that room. Like I was doing, look, you talk about confidence, and I didn't even speak the language. There was a translator there, right? That type of confidence only comes from God. And it's not arrogance. It's he put me there for a reason. And when you understand that, you kind of move different. Then you're not impressed. Now, obviously, we're always evolving, right? But then you get to a point where you're not impressed by what this I'm not impressed by Jay-Z. Remember they had the God bless Jay-Z. Remember they had the thing on the internet where they were like, would you take $500,000 or a meeting with Jay-Z? You start looking at the world differently. Like what the world respects aren't the things that you respect. I don't need to get a Lamborghini. I don't even want to drive. Well, I don't need to do that stuff to impress folks. All the stuff that people chase after, all that stuff is garbage to me. Right? If I post on the internet and it only has 4 views, I don't care. I'm posting because I have something to say. And those 4 people may have been the 4 people that I was trying to reach. That's why I did a post a little while ago. I said, just keep posting, keep posting, keep posting. Right? You just move different. And I want people to be able to, some people, and I'm not talking about faith-based, I'm not talking about all that other stuff, right? I'm just talking about the truth. The truth is what it is. How you feel about it makes no difference. All right. So I'm really passionate about bringing this and expanding this program to what we have, the 4 Data Points Academy. I've always wanted to get into some personal development stuff. I've learned from some really good people, some masters out there, and I want people to experience this because look, I'm about to be 49 next week. Statistically, I only got about 27 years left, 27 summers, statistically, right? I don't care when I go, right? As long as as long as everybody in my family's taken care of. But you start having a different appreciation of time and how you want to spend the remaining minutes. We're all on the clock, by the way, folks. We all got so many minutes left. And when your personal development is where it needs to be, you understand the importance of not squandering those minutes on things that don't matter or chasing things that don't matter. I got a number that I'm tapping out. You guys will still see me and, doing, consultations and doing stuff like this, but where I'm going, it's real estate is just a tool to get there. Real estate ain't the end all be all. I've been involved in this thing my whole life. I can teach people in my sleep how to do this, right? But it's not the end all be all. So that's kind of what prompted me wanting to bring this program in and I wanted a qualified professional. Yes, I didn't just say Alfred Smith. I said Dr. Alfred Smith. I wanted a qualified professional that has experience on the faith-based side, but you would never know, right? Some people use that. First thing they do when they, and this isn't bad. I'm just saying, you got a problem. The first thing they do is says what God says. Okay, you should say that. You should say that. But that's also the last thing they do. And that doesn't help people. This is what God says. And this is the practical application of that in the real world. And this is the outcome that you can probably expect, right? Like they just stop there, right? And I probably didn't articulate that the best way. So hopefully you guys understand what I meant. But I'm sorry we didn't talk about real estate today. I think this was more important, and I didn't plan to talk about the story of how I got here. But this is it, and we're gonna have to wrap up. So maybe Thursday we'll get back into some real estate. So you guys on the Instagram side, shout out to you guys. But I'll go ahead, and this will be on YouTube now. So I'm sorry, I got a dark sense of humor. All right. Any questions about anything that I went over today, folks? Yes, no, maybe so.
No questions, though.
Amen. Look, man, we all go through stuff. The Men Suffer Too. We have a Men Suffer Too event in April that's good, that talks about a lot of these things, and that's why I'm a part of that organization, that Men Suffer Too. I don't get paid for that, right? I have zero financial interest in that. I'll go out there 3 days. We do a workshop with some other really cool, men. All right. It's just for men. It's not for ladies, right? It's just for men. And we take a deep dive into all these things. And shout out to Dr. Leslie for putting it together and giving us men an opportunity to have a space where we can sort through a lot of these things. So, excuse me, if you guys are interested in that Men Suffer Too, just reach out to me. Tap my picture, screenshot it. You got my email address, and I'll send you the information. It's mensuffer2.com, MENSUFFER 2TOO, exclamation point. So mensuffer2.com, without the exclamation point on the website, if you guys are interested in that. But folks, I gotta tap out. I gotta go get a haircut because we are going to Houston, and Black folks will talk about you if your fade is messed up. Are there any real estate questions that you guys wanted to ask really quick before we tap out? Instagram, I'm gonna go ahead and end the live. Well, I'll keep it on. I'll just end it when it ends. If there are no real estate questions, raise your hand if you have one. If not, no worries. We will be back here Thursday. Oh, did I lose y'all? Shoot. Okay, I think I may have lost Clubhouse.
No, we here.
Oh, okay. I'm on an Android, so I can't even. All right, you're gonna have to end the room. Oh, here it is. That's how I get back in the room. All right.
There you go.
Okay, I'm back. All right, y'all. We are out. 4 Data Points Academy. Go to 4datapoints.com if you want to learn how to be a real estate investor. We have no end date, so we are going to stay in the fight with you until you either learn or quit. It's not a program that you just go through. There's a reason for that. I created the program to create real estate investors, and I don't think I could do that effectively if there's an expiration date on that. Those of you guys come in with zero knowledge, I'll turn you into beginners and intermediate and advanced. And then if you want, we can still do some stuff, right? Build some stuff, do some projects, and you'll still be involved, still in the real estate family, just in a different capacity. Just as we evolve, the folks that have been rocking with me from Jump Street, come on up, Jackie. From Jump Street, they're evolving too, right? We've got people that started with me 2-3 years ago with zero knowledge. We have some people that are up to 30 doors now. So we're going to continue to stay in the fight as long as you guys do. Jackie, how you doing? Jackie, you on mute. How you doing, Jackie?
Hey, Otis, when she get done, I have a question.
Go ahead, because we'll wait for her to get off me. Go ahead, Ron.
If I'm not able to attend Houston this weekend, would it be a virtual version of it live or anything?
No, there will not.
Okay.
There will not. I don't do virtual because I got to be able to work with people. It's not just me presenting. It's interactive, and it would be too distracting for me to interact with people online. But we may do a virtual workshop, maybe late March, about and break down a couple of these strategies on a virtual workshop. So yeah.
All right, gotcha.
All right, Jackie, coming back to you. You back with us? Jackie going once. Jackie going twice. I think somebody else has their hand up. Okay. All right. Well, Jackie, you know how to get a hold of me. You and our real estate family. All the folks the ones you see with those silver wreaths around them are all in our real estate family, and some of them that don't have it are down there in our real estate family. Instagram, thank you for joining us. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you guys were streaming. Go ahead, Jackie. I just saw you come off mute.
Oh my gosh. It's been a while. I could not figure out how to get off of mute.
You was panicking, huh?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, oh no, where's the mute? I was hitting everything but mute. I mean, you should see my screen. It was a little crazy. So I've stepped away for a little bit, lifing.
Yeah.
But I am really excited about some of the new things that you're introducing. So I am like there. So you said that it's on Tuesday at what time?
So it's not, so he's gonna be on Tuesday. So he's going to be here on Clubhouse, and we're going to be live streaming just so he can talk about kind of how we I don't know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the program for a little bit, but this is a good dude, man. And
excited.
I'm a really good, judge of character, and I've known him for over 20 years, and he doesn't know it, but he got me through some pretty tough stuff. And, but he won't give himself the credit. He's like, Otis, every time I talk to you, you just talk yourself through it before I even have a chance to respond, and you solve it by yourself. But it's but he's a good dude, Dr. Alfred Smith, and
very good. Yeah. So this is just it's just a coincidence, well, nothing's a coincidence, but that I would just tune in at that particular time, because that's exactly what I was looking for, some way to get unstuck, to get out of my own way. And when you started talking about that, I'm like, well, what are you doing?
Yes. Yes. And I didn't do it any justice. Like I went through certain aspects of it with him professionally. And I just felt like, it was just, you get burned out. And you're being an entrepreneur. I'm not even talking about the real estate investing side. And I hit a point where I was given just way too much. Right now, there's never, that should be, I shouldn't even be able to fix my mouth to say that. But there was just like, I wasn't getting just things weren't taking off. I mean, by everybody else's definitions, things were taking off, but my expectations are different than everybody else's. And I wasn't getting there fast enough, and I needed to sort out some things. And, I would have these great ideas and I wouldn't start them. And, I just had limiting beliefs that I didn't know that I had. I just had a story that I told myself, which in retrospect was just to combat those limiting beliefs. If I didn't have to, if I had a story, then I didn't have to face any of those limiting beliefs. Right. And I didn't know I had them, because me, I'm like, I got it all figured out. Right.
Right.
And just because you have limiting beliefs doesn't mean you lack confidence. Right. I have extreme confidence in many situations. Now, if there was a math, what are those math competitions? Now you put me in one of those, I might have no confidence. Right. But anything that I engage in, I have a lot of confidence. And this is interesting because we will trick ourselves into believing that's just who we are. Right. And I have this friend, his name is Chris Jacobs. And I've known him as long as I've known my parents. Our parents grew up together, and he's very, very competitive. And we used to play video games back in the day. Right. And I would beat him like 90% of the time. I would beat him. And we would race each other, and we would sprint. We were very, very competitive. I would beat him. But this man never gave up. And he told me, he was like, you're better than me at everything. And later I had to tell him, the truth isn't that I'm better than you at everything. I only did the things that I knew I'd be better than you at. But you're better than me at trying all of these different things. He did all these different sports and all these other things. And some of those things he would have been better than me at. But I didn't try those things because I didn't want to fail. And that is an issue, right? But on the outside, it looks like I'm better than him at everything. So the story was, I'm better than him at everything. But the reality was, I was only willing to try things that I knew I'd already be good at. So those small things impact the way we live our life, not just in business, but in other things, right? And there's certain reasons why we don't start things, because there's an underlying fear of failure. And for me, it's magnified because I take food off of people's plate. There's a lot of people that teach how to invest in real estate, but they can't offer the support I do because it costs too much. I'm not in it for the money. They're trying to run businesses. So I get it, right? I'm charging for $5,000 for what they're charging $25,000 for, right? So they're waiting for me to fail on a large scale so they can say, oh, see, he's not who you guys thought he was, right? They're waiting. Trust me, they are waiting. So that pressure also kind of adds to it. So those were things that I had to sort through. And he's my brother-in-law, right? It's hard. Dr. Alfred Smith, coached me through, a lot of those things. And the thing that's most detrimental to me is I won't ask for help. And I think I got it all figured out. Those are things that'll kill your potential, right? So,
Well, I can tell you I'm about of the same vein. I know I don't have it all figured out, but I do not ask for help.
Yeah.
But I do get in my own way. And so, but most of it's mindset. It's most of, like you said, I keep bringing myself back to the same place automatically in my subconscious.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm familiar. That's what I know.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I get out of my comfort zone, it brings me right back into my comfort zone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I understand the comfort zone conversation. I tell people when they're starting with me, I say, look, I don't want you to get out your comfort zone. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you enough information to expand your comfort zone so you don't have to get out of it. And then when we expand your comfort zone, then you can determine how far you want to go before it's time to get out of it. Usually that's more of a scale up conversation, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? Life is life, and God will put people in our life to help us through. And I'm just like, look, I won't ask for help. Right? I'll ask for consultation or expertise in areas where I'm not proficient, but I won't ask for help. I've had some financial situations, and I got rich friends, folks. I got some rich friends, and they said, what can we do? How can we help? Right. And I said, I'm not taking no help. I'm going to figure it out on my own. If I got to file for bankruptcy and lose everything, I'll know I'll get it back. That's my journey to go on. Right. So I will not accept that type of, and I ended up, figuring it out. And, the wheels started turning and I was able to create something out of nothing. And had I accepted that help, I probably wouldn't have done that. So it's a double-edged sword, right? But we'll sort it out.
Yeah. So tell me again, it's on Clubhouse tomorrow. What time?
No, it's going to be Tuesday next week. So it's
I'm sorry, Tuesday.
So it's 9:00 California time, and we do Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'm going to have him here Tuesday, and we'll just talk about it, and you guys will get to meet him. And I'm excited for you all because he's just a good dude, man. He's a good dude.
And where can I find his book? Is he on Amazon?
He's on Amazon. He's on Amazon. He is going to, those books were when he was a pastor, so they're more faith-based.
Oh, okay.
He's shifted from that, and he's focuses on the practical application of a lot of those principles. He's not, I don't know how to say this, but he's not he's not pastory, right? He's not like, he's just like a real dude. And I think you guys will get that sense about him. So
Okay. Well, I'll be there on Tuesday, and I'm excited, and I'm really like the direction that you're going in
Yeah.
because it's exactly what I need. I had the information, but I was just stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. What's up, what's up, GA? What's up, country fella? What's up, Emmett?
What's happening, man? What's going on with you?
Man, we just about to wrap it up. I shared my story of how I came to be that long 45-minute story. I didn't think we was going to live stream. I didn't plan on going over it today, but now it is what it is.
Hey, yo.
You was making
Yes.
enough time that you ain't gonna be you won't be on Thursday. I thought you was giving folks that extra bonus.
No, I'm gonna be well, I'll be here. I'll be here. You're gonna be in you'll be in Houston, right, GA?
I shall.
Yeah. So I'll see you there. But yeah, we'll do we'll be on here Thursday of day after tomorrow. And then we'll be on here next week. And then we'll see about I have my son in March, probably most of March, so he may be on here with me.
Hey, Otis, wasn't Country one of the ones talking about my Eagles?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think anybody can talk about your Eagles now.
I'm talking about beforehand.
Well, I mean, Ron, let's be.
Don't do it, though. Don't do it, though.
It's Ron. Let's be honest. Your Eagles beforehand aren't the Eagles of now, right? Your Eagles still have something to prove.
Don't do it, though.
I don't think Country Fella was the only one talking about your Eagles. But shout out to the Eagles.
Them raggedy Eagles now.
Hey, before we wrap it up, now I want to ask you, like what would you label this? What would you title this story today? What would you title it last?
I don't know, man. I'm writing I've been writing a book for almost 15 years, and the book is titled 3 Women from Glory. And my dad gave me that name a long time ago, and I didn't know what it meant. And the book is centered around that story. But prior to that story, the way that, I engaged as a single dude and how destructive it was and how accepted certain things were by the world, there's a lot of focus on that. So it's going to be really for a book for men. But I don't know what I would title that story, that part of it. I haven't put a lot of thought into it, man. It's hard for me to talk about. I can talk about it now, but it was such a dark place that I've just started being able to get through it probably this last couple of years, because it takes me back to a really tough time. Like I was going to blow my brains out. It wasn't like I just wanted to or I was pondering it. I was sober when I made that decision. I got drunk so I wouldn't change my mind. And there's certain aspects of that story that that I still have to reconcile. Like, for example, why did I feel the need to be close to my parents when I did that? Because I was just going to go to the park across the street. So why did I feel that need to be close to my parents? And what would have happened if they walked out and saw that? Right. So there were certain things, man, because you weren't really thinking straight back then, and certain things I still have to reconcile with it. But the story is worth telling because, there's certain things I do in business that are not profitable, and people can't always understand why. There's certain things that I do when engaging with people that I have no pre-existing relationship with that don't necessarily benefit me. And people don't understand why. So that story kind of gives some insight into how I came to be this person, and right, and why I get to a point where I really don't care about what this world thinks, because
everybody
go ahead.
Everybody has a testimony, but it becomes a real testimony when you're able to explain it, give it to other people. That's when it's really a testimony.
Yeah, man, it was it was a tough time. Tough time, man.
A lot of people hold it in, they don't give the testimony like you did.
Well, I can see why. I mean, this is, a lot of people have a problem public speaking. Like, it's difficult for a lot of people, and I'm sitting here live streaming it on the internet and Clubhouse and YouTube and Facebook.
Not even just that. It's just like you say, you were embarrassed, or they just haven't broke out of that shell. It's a certain point in your life where you're able to express yourself differently. It's needed. A lot of people go through things because they hold stuff in, you know. They go through it all their life.
I,
Trauma.
I was fortunate, man, and I think that's part of the reason that he said the people that I'm trying to reach will listen to you, but they won't listen to them. And I didn't. There's still some things unfolding at the time. Like I mentioned, he had asked me to do some things, and I thought I failed at it. And then I realized my time is not his time. And he knew I was going to fail at it, but I had to fail out of it to gain a different perspective that I wouldn't have gotten had I been successful at it the first time. So that failure allowed me to evolve into this person, which is, 15 years later, right? His time is not our time, right? And he's still tapping me on the shoulder. But we'll see, man. I may be evolving until I'm no longer on this planet, man. And it's not even about it's hold on one second, it's a second, yeah. It's not even about to being recognized for anything in particular. I just have something that I feel needs to be shared and said, right? And it's so I just like when I was going up and he would put me in front of them crowds and he would give me the words to say, that's bubbling up again. And I don't know what to do with it. So it's got to come out. So I think that's what we're seeing right now. What's up, GA? What's up, country fella? I see you came off mic. I think he may have lost connection.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, can you ride a bicycle, Otis?
Can I ride a bicycle?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the first time you jumped on it, could you ride it?
No, I could not.
So you didn't fail, right? It was an attempt.
Amen.
So your failure wasn't a failure because it's just the way that you was taught to look at things.
Right.
I told you earlier that you've been running because you moved into something you can't move away from. You said that other guy is not past the read because James says it best. So we start with our values. Then you find your value, you chasing purpose, and then seek ye first the kingdom and all these other things, then it'll be added unto you.
Amen.
And so folks trying to figure out, like you said, you doing things that don't seem to be profitable. Profitable who? Because that's the world's rules. You living in a kingdom. It's different than the one that we exist in.
Amen.
We exist in this kingdom, but we're from another one. So your output is different.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to look like what everybody thinks it should be.
Yep.
You didn't start there. You're not relying on that. That's their system, not yours.
Amen.
That's why you can be victorious and have these victories when it seems like everybody else says you should be failing.
Amen.
It ain't based on what you think. It's based on your creator's assessment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like that feeling you get. First of all, let me say this. This is how, and this is kind of a sidebar, but when people talk about, somebody asked me, they said, would you want to, because you met God, you said that you met him before. Would you want to meet him again? No. People in this world play with God. That's one thing that I do see. People play with him, and he is not to be played with. And if people don't have that reverence that they should, and this has always confused me. Like, why would you come to me and not come to all these people? All you got to do is come to him once, and then everything is solved. Then it's undeniable, right? But people play with him, and he is not to be played with. And when you are in that space, when you learn how real he really is, he's more real than you guys, you all of us here right now. When you learn that in real life, you ain't the same person, right? You ain't the same person. Now, over time, that experience starts to diminish, right? The impact of it starts to diminish a little bit, but you don't want to, he is not messing around. And that's how, when I engage with people in that space, and some of these, pastors that I be coming across, and there's a lot of folks, just like any organization, there's going to be good people, there's going to be bad people, right? But I can tell if somebody's met him or not, because there's certain things you just don't do anymore, right? Now, we still sinners, right? We're still human. That's not what I'm talking about. There's just a certain way that you move when you are doing something that involves him or mentions him, that it ain't the same, man. So I really hope that everybody gets a chance to experience him in some way, shape, or form, before Jesus comes back, because by then it may be too late. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm telling you. And he has an interest in you, whether you have an interest in him. Regardless of what you believe or what you feel about, him or your life or all of this other stuff, I do not care. It is not about you. It has nothing to do with you. He is very, very real. And I'm talking about to the point where you realize that and you're like, dang, you start thinking about all the stuff you ever did. And I was like, I hope you didn't see it. Hope you didn't see that. Hope you didn't see this and that. Right. But he is not to be played with. And I just see so many people playing with him. That's like, the reverence just isn't there, right? But I can tell who's been on that train. If somebody asked me if I wanted to meet him again, I'd be like, no, just tell me what you want me to do. I don't need to. Anyway. All right, folks, I'm gonna tap out. I appreciate everybody for tolerating the story. If you guys have any questions, any real estate questions or mentorship questions, you can come to the website 4datapoints.com. You folks on Instagram, I will be catching you later. Same with Facebook and YouTube. And our live stream will end when you hear this corny music.